Hier haben wir jetzt den Marantz AV10 in einer funktionierenden Version. Ja, wenn ich den hier aufmache, sehen wir hier unten, da läuft was, hier so ein bisschen Lautstärke. Und das Schöne ist jetzt, dass wir die Möglichkeit haben, nachdem wir mit dem Yuuki Takahashi im letzten Teil die Möglichkeit hatten, über Hardware und Ausstattung etc. zu sprechen, habe ich jetzt die große Ehre, mit Phil Jones zu sprechen, der uns jetzt das Graphical User Interface und einige Softwareoptionen zeigt. So, Phil, thank you so much for spending some time with us and explaining some new features.
Yeah, I'm really excited because, you know, it's been a couple of years since we've had Cedia.
Yeah.
And, you know, for Sound United and our Denon Marantz brands, this is important for us because we cater to those who are looking for the better stuff. They're concerned with picture quality, they're concerned with sound quality. They want the flexibility to get the most from their systems. And they want something that looks good and that is really, really easy to operate and something that's joyful to experiment with and play with. So we have some new receivers that we're doing. You saw, like we have, of course, our big flagship Marantz AV10, as well as a flagship Denon called the
awesome,
AV1H. But we also have, even if I look here, this is one of our new Denon X3800s. So this piece has a large amount of improvements.
And this one will deliver the great new GUI.
Yes, so if I bring up the GUI, what happens is we're in a 8K world. So everybody has 8K TVs, 4K TVs.
Unfortunately, not everybody yet,
but people are going there.
Yeah.
But if you look at a lot of the menus, a lot of the menu systems, we're still, you know, standard dynamic or standard SD. So we wanted to make a higher quality graphic interface. So if you have an HD TV or you have a 4K TV or 8K TV, it looks really, really nice. So the menu system is far more visual. Each brand has their own unique look. So, and as I go through and I pick different selections, you'll even see that the menu, the backdrop changes. So I can go, so it's a lot more detailed, there's a lot more things. So not only is it pretty, there's more things you can do with it. We offered a lot more capabilities to make sure that you can fine tune it to work with your TV and in your system, to make sure that your video works properly and that you can better utilize all of your audio capabilities.
In which resolution are these menu graphics rendered natively?
We just call it an HD GUI. I'm not exactly sure what the exact resolution is, but it's noticeably better than the one back here. So if you go
Perhaps
look at
Johnny can
so Johnny, if you come here, you can see if I go and I pick and I'm going to put them side by side, and you look at the same screen compared to a go back here, an HD or high definition GUI with graphics and the text and everything else, compared to a 4K GUI. So you can see that the text is much sharper. The instructions are more defined. So because it's finer, I can put better instructions in to walk you through the things that you are doing with your receiver.
Sure.
Because the fonts are a lot smaller and a lot more technical. Even down to, say I set my system up, and this is what I want. Well, if I go down here, what speakers? There's tons and tons of connections on the back of that, but I only want to use 7.1. Which one should I connect? So when I hit this, it tells me exactly which ones should be connected, and really simple to understand.
We already had this one in the past generation.
Yeah, but it wasn't as easy to understand. It wasn't as sharp.
Just some schematic designs.
So the goal is just to make it sharper and crisper.
As we're looking on these connection tables, there was one particular detail that really amazed me at your presentation. It was the XLR assignment for certain channels. Would you mind to show that?
Okay.
So we can skip over to features.
The XLR adjustment is available on the big guy.
So
let's talk about what that is. If you look in this picture, you'll see that there's 4 subwoofer outs on our receivers. And now this, depending on the receiver, as you move up to the top of the flagship Denon
A1H.
It's going to be in you guys AVC A1H. Because it's bigger, it also has not only 4 RCAs, but 4 XLRs. And XLRs are really good at rejecting noise. So if you're running really long cables to a subwoofer, you don't have to worry about hums and things like that. Those XLRs can only be used for 4 subwoofers, or you can choose to use those XLRs, use 2 of them to feed to a amplifier that is driving your main speakers.
Let me repeat that in German, so everyone understands it. This is a key point. Was man bei dem großen Denon machen kann, dem AVC A1H, der hat hinten 4 XLR-Ausgänge, die für Subwoofer designt sind. Aber man kann die Dinger, wenn man jetzt keine 4 Subwoofer hat, auch für die anderen Kanäle nehmen. Wobei da fällt, just one question, is it possible to assign each possible channel to those XLR outputs or just the mains?
You can do left, right, center, and subwoofer. Because there was 4, because we figured that the ones that people are normally going to do first is most people choose to do their mains.
Total sense,
and then the one that has the most dialogue normally is the center channel. So we wanted to dedicate those to that. So you can do left, right, center, and subwoofers. Most people choose, those seem to be the most ones, because normally the first amplifier you upgrade is your main one. Now, the other thing that's important about that would be, oh, by the way, we said we have 4 subwoofers.
Yes.
But you can use those 4 subwoofers different ways. The first way, if I look at this menu, you'll see that it says
directional.
Yeah, but first we'll start here, standard.
Yes.
Surround sound has a 0.1, so it's 9, 0.1, 0.6, or 5, 0.1, 0.4. The 1 is the LFE channel. So if you have 4 subwoofers normally, those 4 subwoofers may be equalized differently, but they get the same signal. On this now, you can go in and depending on your subwoofers, you can do directional bass. So what happens is the LFE channel, the 0.1, is played by all 4. But if there's a cannon shot that comes from this speaker, it is that extra bass from that speaker is being fed to that.
So actually, the receiver is generating bass zones.
Yeah, it's making bass zones.
Surrounding speakers.
So based on the quadrant that the subwoofer is located in, if the sound is over here, you get the LFE from everything. But if it's just supposed to be a gunshot from this speaker, that subs helps that speaker out. So you get more impact. So things come from, you feel it coming from different directions. Makes it a lot more impactful.
Would you mind to switch between certain modes regarding the placement of the subwoofers?
So first thing, say you have 4 subs. We recommend 2 in the front, 2 in the back, quadrants. You can also do 3 subs, 2 in the front, 1 in the back. Or you can do 2 subs. Now, 2 subs, there's 2 places you could put them. 2 in the front, or what I think is better,
this one,
1 in the front, 1 in the back. So if the bass is coming from the front, that extra sub gives you the impact from the front. If it's in the back, you get the more impact from the one in the back.
Makes total sense. As we actually see this kind of picture, there's some further news on the new generation. You told us that the high channels, these ones over there, are not needed to be configured in order to use Aural 3D. So you can use ceiling channels too.
Exactly. And with Aural 3D, the spec for Aural 3D, because you have a top surround, it's designed to go, it's supposed to be 3 layers. Top surround, heights, and then your regular bass, your bass layer. So if you had your system configured for in ceilings, it would not allow you to select Aural 3D.
Do you know whether Aural 3D will calculate differently according to whether you use ceiling or height speakers? Is it the same signal that is being routed just to another speaker?
What we recommend with that is if you're going to, I'm not exactly sure about that, but the receiver is going to try to, it knows what you have and it will try to configure itself the best way. What we did in our own theater was I have a traditional voice of God firing straight down. Then I have the in ceilings here, and they have the angleable tweeters, so I can angle and kind of bring the image
make sense.
Make
anyway,
the image down. So I still get the 3 layers, even though there's 2 of the layers are actually in the ceiling. So, but the nice thing is, as a customer, you get to utilize Auro 3D as for upmixing and for content, even if your speakers are in the ceiling, because that's going to be the best thing for you.
Yeah, and as we're talking about upmixing, there are certain customers who prefer even using Auromatic for Atmos tracks.
Yes.
And they ask for Atmos decoded tracks with post-processed Auromatic. And until now, all the AV receivers around first make a legacy 5.1 stream when being fed with Atmos tracks, and then they blew it up with Auromatic. And the question is, will the next generation be able to decode Atmos natively and then apply Auromatic?
That is a very good question. I've never had that question asked. I was going to have to investigate that because our goal, if you look at a lot of things that we've done, whether it comes to directional bass or some of the other things that we've been talking about, has come from us listening to our clients, the customers, the people that buy our product. The reason why we did this with Auro 3D was because one of the things was I don't have to do that. So as this thing that you brought up is something that may be they may be of interest to, they may be interested in, because if that's something that people are asking for, we work hard to try to make sure that we can do those types of things. We also have to look at each manufacturer that we partner with, whether it's Adobe or DTS,
okay
are they okay with it? So that's one of those things that we always have to look at. So I can't say yes or no, and I can't say, but I can say that if there's a lot of feedback from customers that would like that, and it's possible through engineering, and it's allowed by our partners, we always try to look at ways to improve our performance. But right now, I'm not sure. I think Dolby Atmos is pretty much leave it as it is.
Okay. You just had a talk with an iMax guy. Is he still around?
Oh,
no, he left, unfortunately.
But I'm pretty good with the iMax thing.
Okay, my next question is focused on iMax, or DTSX to be exact. When having a configuration with height and ceiling speakers, will DTSX make use of all those 8 speakers, for example, or will it focus on the ceiling or the height speakers?
Okay, so what happens with the bigger systems? The center front height and the top surround is designed for Auro 3D and iMax. It will there is no spec for those under Dolby Atmos. Yeah. Right? However, if you have 1, 2, 3 end ceilings, or like an Atmos configuration, the Atmos configuration, those positions are also positions for DTSX, which is also positions for iMax enhanced.
Most probably they won't make use of height speakers that are additionally installed.
Yeah, they won't. They can't. If I'm now, because before you had 15 channels or 13 channels, actually 11 channels when back in the days with DTSX, which is the base for DTS. DTSX is the base for iMax Enhanced, and you had 11 channels for free. But then when DTS Pro came out, that channel limitation is gone. It wasn't about the content, it was about licensing and processing power. So now, as many channels that you have as DTS in Dolby Atmos, you can have those channels in DTSX. So say you do a 9.1.6 configuration in Dolby Atmos, when you play back in DTSX, you will still get 9.1.6.
So we basically run out of channels anyway.
Exactly. Exactly. The only difference is DTSX can use DTSX and iMax Enhanced are spec for 2 channels that are not spec'd on Dolby Atmos. Now, what's nice about our product is, say you went out and bought that beautiful AV, that AV10. It has 15 channels of processing, but it has 17 outputs. So what you could do is you could configure, you could buy 17 speakers. And when you go to Auro 3D, or when you go to iMax Enhanced, or when you go to DTSX Pro, it'll take the 6 speakers in the ceiling will be front heights, rear heights, top surround, center height, and then when I switch to Dolby Atmos, it'll switch to front heights, mids, and rears automatically. So based on the signal, it can switch between that. Now you have to have 17 channels of amplification and 17 speakers, but if you're a client that wants that or a person that wants that, the receiver will switch automatically.
Okay, that's good.
Okay. Oh, speaking of amplifiers, I'm a talkative guy.
Go ahead,
okay.
Go ahead.
One of the other things that we added this year.
Talkative, that's a nice word, by the way. I haven't heard that so far.
See if we can find it here. Is we have the ability now to do, let me see if I can find it, go back, to do individual
switchable amplification.
Exactly.
Channels.
So if I can, now it's got to figure out
where
I
paid attention in your presentation.
Okay, so let me find it here. Speaker connection.
Really? Is this over there?
Speaker connection.
Oh, they moved it.
Yes, because now it has so much more capability. Before, you can do, person buys a very good receiver. And a lot of times, you're buying them because you want more video switching and you want more surround sound processing. But say you had a bunch of amplifiers. The old system, you can switch into what's called preamp mode, and the receiver will turn into a preamp, and it will physically disconnect all of the amplifiers.
Except for the 8500. This was already able to
exactly, already do that. But last year we added the ability to do preamp mode. But when it physically disconnects them, it disconnects all, it used to disconnect all of them. So if you wanted a 5.1 system, you had to have an amplifier for your left, a right, center, and your surrounds. But many customers may have a 2-channel amplifier. So what you can do now is you can say, the front speakers, I want to put the front speakers as a pre-out only and run that to your amplifier, and then I want the center, the surrounds, the surround heights, and everything else to use the amplifiers built in to the receiver.
And the saved power is being transferred to the other speakers?
Well, what happens is there's one power supply in here. That power supply has to be shared normally between this one, this one, this one, this one, and this one, which limits the amount of output that you could be divided to those channels. The second I do this, I take a load off the power supply, which increases the current capability and the wattage of those. So not only will you get better sound because you are using an amplifier.
By the way, is it possible to see the overlay GUI?
Yeah, we could do that.
This is supposed to be new too.
Yeah, so overlay GUI. So if I go here to, so you can see there's this overlay GUI here. If I turn the volume up, let me close that. The volume is different. So as I turn the volume up and down, why are we being difficult? Oh, you know why? Somebody has HEOS on. You can cut that out. That's the benefit of video. so you can see now it's a more of a simpler overlay video. So as I turn it on and off, it's smaller. It's overlaid. You have the option menu is a newer, smaller, more defined. By the way,
as we're actually in this menu, I was about to ask you this anyway. Would you mind to switch over to this one? My question will be, you know, when watching a movie with your wife, for example, she asks you, oh, there's so much bass in the movie. Can you turn it down? And in recent generation, this bass adjustment only applied on front left, front right channel. And do you know whether this is expanded to affect all channels?
I believe this is still the current way. However, if you have a client that wants someone that wants to do that, what many people choose to do is if you look at the receivers, you'll see they have these quick select buttons. 1, 2, 3, 4. There's 4 little buttons here on the remote control. What you can do with that is you can make adjustments to subwoofer levels and everything and put them under 1. So when you hit 1, the subs turn down, all the channels change.
So you mean to work with the 2 presets that are selectable?
Yeah, exactly. So you could say, Not too much bass mode.
But it's still only 2 preset modes. There's no
Yes, there's 2 preset
Okay.
modes. The other thing too, if you want to adjust multiple levels, I normally do it here, under channel level.
Okay.
So I would just normally go here a lot of times if they want to turn the bass down or a channel down. I would do, but that's just
Sure,
for subs.
but
for you, what you were saying, dual speaker preset is perfect for that.
Okay.
That's the best way to do it.
Okay. We spoke about subwoofer adjustability. How is the system supposed to work regarding the sequential work that has been done? For example, you first have to set up all the subwoofer and then do the room acoustic stuff, or is Audyssey supposed to set up everything automatically, specifically as talking about Dirac?
Yeah, so the difference, let's talk a little bit about the differences between the two.
Workflow, that's the
the
term
workflow.
I just didn't remember.
Okay, when you look at, when we implement Dirac, or when you implement Dirac on any system, it's the user that has to determine whether the speaker is full band.
So Dirac does not do the
determination. It does not determine that.
Okay.
It's you to determine that you believe that your speaker is full range or limited.
So
right?
that's still a benefit that Audyssey
does.
brings to the
Audyssey,
customer.
sometimes people get a little disappointed because they buy big speakers and Audyssey says that they're small.
Or
they're
the other
not
way around, you have small bookshelf speakers that are being applied, run with 40 hertz.
And it says it's good. So what happens is looking at the signal in your room at the microphone point. So if I have a bookshelf close to a corner, a lot of time and a lot of times it may play deep enough to be classified as a larger speaker.
Okay.
Or I may have a floor standing speaker, but it may, at the point where I'm sitting, how it interacts in the room, it may not be able to play low enough for that speaker to be classified as a large speaker. Yeah. It's more about it. Audyssey does not care about what you bought. What they care about is what it sounds like at this point. And at the point you're sitting at, when that microphone is measured, the frequency response tells it at this space, it's small or large. Now you can override that.
It can be good or bad.
You can override that.
Yeah.
So for example, say you had say it says it's large, and you want it to be small. That's one of the benefits of using something like the multi-cue app, or which is $20. Anybody that has an Audyssey.
I strongly recommend using this feature.
The app, because you can really go in and fine tune.
Or you can use multi-QX.
Yeah, multi-QX, either the app or you use the multi-cue software. You can really go in and fine tune. So you can make your own target curves on how much bass you want. You can determine, you can say, no, I want that speaker to be small, I want the crossover to be here.
But in general, back to topic, in general, when using Dirac, the customer is supposed to do this
it himself, and then we do it automatically. Audyssey does it automatically, but you can override that if you don't agree.
Do you think there will be a future support for the Dirac Live bass control module?
Well, like I said, I can't share or talk about what's coming in the future, but I will say that we're working with Dirac to continue to improve the performance. The way that I look at it is we are, when it comes to room compensation, we want to give our customers options. So if someone wants it really simple, you do it all for me. That's what the Audyssey out of the box. You put the microphone in, you follow the instructions, it'll give you great sound. If you want to step up your adjustability, have a little more processing, then you would buy the app. Then you want even more capabilities, then you step up to the multi-QX Audyssey software. Then if you want additional things or more things such as impulse and all of the stuff that that Dirac can do, you can step up. We're just trying to give our enthusiasts all of the different options, and they can choose where they want to be. Are we going to continue to work with to Dirac to bring more features? Yes, we are. But right now, we want to focus on the limited and the full range. So is what we're going to launch with, and then we'll see as we come along in the future what else was going to happen.
Fine. Pricing will be in the United States $249 for the light version.
I think it's like $259 for the one that does up to like down to from 500 down, and I think $349 for the option that does full range.
Okay. Last question. We're a professional installing company, and sometimes we prefer doing manual adjustment rather than using Dirac or Audyssey. Which kind of manual equalization does this device offer to date?
Well, it does have a basic equalization. But remember that equalization is not the same as a filter.
Yeah, I know that has some advantages and
so
disadvantages.
what we always say, so you can go into audio and there is a graphic EQ built into it. And you can go in and utilize that graphic EQ for certain things. So you can do left, right, or each. So say we go to each. Now I can go in here and I can EQ. Now you only have 1, 2, 3, 4. You have several bands, so to do stuff, but you're not going to have as much adjustability.
Would you mind to scroll? I'm curious to see whether the subwoofer has been included at this generation for doing graphical equalization. Okay,
no.
So no subwoofer.
Yeah,
okay,
and
so
that's where most
the same.
Yeah, and that's where most of them you want to do the bass. That's why I like filters, because a lot of times you're just trying to get a sound or a tone. So by using the filters, are going to give you whether you're using Dirac or Audyssey filters is going to give you a lot more capabilities and adjustability by picking where you want that sound to be.
Okay.
And then adjusting the target curve till you get the sound that you want. So so it would be the equivalent of you having, I think they were saying. Less like very, very precise.
Okay.
Like 10, 20 hertz steps is the kind of capability you have. So if you're really trying to EQ it to get it the way you want, filters are going to give you a lot more capabilities. But it is here for those who would like to utilize a graphic equalization.
Okay, so much. Thank you for this comprehensive tutorial.
Well, I will say that you have asked some very good questions, so that tells me that your audience is at another level, because you've asked me questions that I'm going to go back, and now I am very curious about. So that is very good. So that just shows.
Would you like to add something?
Well, you know what? This is actually a good point.
Did we forget a major feature?
Well, but like I said, we've talked about a lot of the great features. I think that people are going to be really happy with the way that we've laid out our new menu systems and the additional flexibility that we've added to the receivers. So hopefully everybody who buys these or experiments with them are going to be quite pleased. We're quite proud of all of the new capabilities we've added.
Absolutely.
Oh, one more thing that we should talk about.
There's one more thing.
And it's in big in Europe.
A new iPhone.
Yeah.
No?
Or 360 audio, because that is kind of something that is I've seen in Europe before I've seen it here. This is going to be the first receiver that supports 360 audio, the immersive audio format that was developed by Sony.
What's the benefit for the customer when being able to hear Dolby Atmos enabled tracks on Apple TV right now in Dolby Atmos?
So if you have depending on the app and you're looking at Apple Music or Tidal and you have an Apple TV or Sony TV or select devices, you get this music that is mixed in Dolby Atmos. There's actually other music, and there's a different mix in multi-channel immersive done in 360. It's like comparing Dolby Atmos to DTS:X. Okay. Which one's the best one? It's the one that you like. So Tidal is going to be supporting both Dolby Atmos and 360 audio. So, and then there's several other services that are going to be supporting 360 audio, which is the other 3D immersive audio format, and we have both. So you could try the two.
Do you have any experience how they differentiate from each other?
It's a different mix. Like the best way I explain it, I've had the same movie mixed in Dolby Atmos and mixed in DTS:X. Yeah. They sound different. It's all up to the mix that they did.
Who's in charge for these differences? The artist or anyone else?
The artist. The artist. Normally it's a recording. It's the studio or the artist. And I've heard some great DTS:X track. iMax track. iMax. I've heard some great Dolby Atmos tracks, and I've heard the same version in 360. And sometimes I prefer the Atmos, and sometimes I prefer the 360.
Please give us some tips about your most favorite tracks. Viewers would love this.
Well, like if you talk about Dolby Atmos, I think one of my favorites would be there's like you talk about German bands. There's a Kraftwerk.
Okay.
They made a record that that was a live that was done in Dolby Atmos. Very good immersive mix. It's kind of the really immersive things all over the room. If you want to see a good balance of just kind of feeling like you're in a space, there's a new Eric Clapton called Man. There's a new Eric Clapton that just came out. I can't remember the title of it, and it is. He went to a manor, a British manor, out in the countryside with his band, and he just sat there, and you're getting just the sense of his band in that space. So those are really, really good ones. Another one would be something like there's Riders of the Storm by the Doors is done really, really well in both Dolby Atmos. As 360 audio is just getting started, we are, as we say, surround sound. We call it agnostic. We don't care what surround sound mode you choose. It's up to you. You may like the 360, and I may like the DTS, the Dolby Atmos.
So you empower the customer to choose for himself.
Yeah. So you grab the song and you play it back on one of the other services, and you listen to it in 360, and then you play it back on Apple Music, and you play it back so you may take 360 audio on Tidal and compare it to the Dolby Atmos on Apple and pick the one that you like. We just give you the option. We give the customer the power.
So we are excited to see this in action soon.
Yeah, it's coming in. They're going to start launching in October. So probably towards the end of the year, there will be services available in Europe that will support the format.
But it's a shame we have to wait till February to get the big boys.
Yeah, yeah. Exactly. So by the time the receiver there, you'll be able to have more things you can actually play with.
Alrighty. So
All
Phil,
right.
it was a sheer pleasure talking to you.
Thank you.
Thank you so
much
much
for your
time.
Take care.